The special edition International Affairs, but today we will touch the national budget of Bangladesh, which is going to be declared today. Before going to the show, let me introduce, we have a very distinguished panelist today. We have Professor Hussein Uddin Sharkar. He is the Vice Chancellor of Gopalganj Science and Technology University. And also we have our regular international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. He has just joined. First, I will go through two breaking news, which is the top headlines in international medias. Number one is Ukraine's major drone offensive. Ukraine launched its most extensive drone operation on date, targeting 5 Russian military airfields deep within Russian territory. The attack reportedly damaged over 40 aircrafts. Russian 40 aircrafts has been damaged, including strategic bombers, marking a significant escalation in the conflict. I have another breaking news, which is China-US tensions over Taiwan. China issued a stern warning to the United States following comments by US Defense Secretary Pete regarding Taiwan. Beijing labeled the remarks as provocative, coinciding within China's recent naval exercises in the South China. First, let me go to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. Sir, welcome to the studio. Let us know what is the international headlines today you have observed and you can pick for today's discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Warm welcome to Professor Shekhar and a lovely afternoon to our viewers. Actually, the international medias have been head and toe over the Ukraine assault in Russia. This time around, we see a Ukraine offensive more than a Russian offensive. Not only so, in international news, we have 2 casualties and several hundred arrested in the Paris Saint-Germain Champions League win. Afterwards, they had a violent clash in France. Of course, today is also June 2nd. We will be much anticipating the Bangladesh's budget for the fiscal year of 25 to 26.
Yes, sir.
And also Saudi Arabia and notable other foreign ministers from the Middle East were planning to visit the Palestinian Strip. However, this was of course barred by Israel, and they did hold a comment in Bahrain. So that's about it.
So I just want to pick one question from your side, that you said that Ukraine's aggression to Russia is very notable.
Yes. Today
in last incidents. 40 aircrafts by Russian Air Force has been damaged, and some other reports also are coming to the news feed. What do you think? Is it a NATO provocative attack to Russia, because Ukraine does not have that guts to go for a counter attack to Russia?
You see, in the last 1 week, we've seen German nations trying to lift the restrictions that Ukraine had in its long-range capabilities, especially Germany. Friedrich Merz had initially said he's going to boost 5 billion euro in joint defense cooperation between Ukraine and Germany. And not only so, most of the EU and the UK states are now realizing how big of a threat Vladimir Putin's Russia is. In the budget of the UK government, Mr. Starmer has also, in a first notion, we've seen that the UK government is now also planning to take steps to strengthen their army as well.
Don't you think that this attack from Ukraine side to Russia, inside Russia, will actually again escalate the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, because NATO is now very open? And do you think this will give a big full stop on the ceasefire negotiation?
In the first round of talk held in Turkey, they agreed to 1,000 prisoner swap between the two sides. Given that that much, we haven't heard whether they actually have the truth stop, but they had minimum amount of roughly 400 people. Not only so, at this moment, we can expect high-scale Russian escalation to the matter. Of course, as we also know it, that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin did share retaliatory remarks over the weekend. So at this moment, Russia can choose to attack various strongholds in Ukraine based on the Ukraine offensive.
Very, very articulated information. I know you are very keenly watching and observing the issues in Russia, Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, Gaza, India, Pakistan tensions, and China, Taiwan as well. And lastly, added by United States comment on China. China reacted very well. We will discuss that. We have a very distinguished professor, Dr. Hussein Uddin Shekhar, who has served at Dhaka University for more than decades. Now he is the Vice Chancellor of Gopalganj Science and Technology University. First of all, congratulations for being the Vice Chancellor of a Science and Technology University, and I know your background is from biochemistry.
Yeah.
You have lot of journals, articles on this particular subject, and you have gone very deep. My first question would be like, today is going to be declared the budget, national budget fiscal year 2025-2026. What do you think, what would be the importance of giving emphasis on budget to the education sector, especially on science and technology, as you are representing one science and technology university, sir?
Thank you very much, Rashid, for inviting me in your show, and thank you, the observer. I'd like to say the budget should be very much friendly to the universities, and as you know, the usual budget, the main constraint is that they do not have sufficient allocation for proper development of university facilities, particularly in science and technology universities. You know, these are very much laboratory oriented, and there are dearth of teachers and dearth of buildings, and infrastructural problems are over there. So in this case particularly, we are expecting that in 25-26 budget, two things must be taken into consideration very seriously. One is containing the severe inflation that we observed in the last year. In general, 10% inflation, and in food 12% inflation, and in education sector, the commodities for pursuing higher education particularly is also becoming very expensive. As you know, making a science graduate particularly from a science and technology university is quite expensive. Their residential accommodation, their laboratory facilities, and the books, all these things are severely missing in most of the science and technology universities. So if you would like to flourish science in our country, you need to make a healthy budget, and you need to make a budget in a way that will attract the students to remain in our country. Otherwise, most of the cases, what we say, after graduating from a science university and from a technology oriented university, most of the students either go abroad or they remain unemployed in our country. So if it is not a science friendly budget, I suppose that the scenario will not be changed, it will be as usual.
Sir, let me do a very free and frank questions, because we all travel all over the world. You studied outside, I studied outside. Our international affairs commentator, he studied in Singapore, one of the top institute in Singapore. My question is, do you still believe that to build a progressive nation, to compete with the international standard education, are we really ready with the institutional move or government budget, or the standard we have set in our educational system? I want a very fair answer from you, because you are a very veteran academician. You are serving, you are teaching in different universities for a long time. Be honest with this question. What is our standard?
Well, okay. The first thing is that the standard is a variable entity here in Bangladesh. The standard of Dhaka University and that of a remote university is not the same. The academic staffs of Dhaka University and the academic staff of a remote peripheral university is not the same. Not the same in terms of their academic staffs as well as the students. So there is a variation. As far as my department, the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology is concerned, I can give you a statistics how my students are going abroad. How many numbers of students are going abroad every year? About 60 to 70% of our students are leaving Bangladesh, because the standard of education here in my country, in my department, is quite as par with the standard of the European or American universities. They are directly being admitted into PhD courses without taking any in-between courses. So, they are going abroad directly, taking a Fulbright scholarships, and you will become astonished hearing that about 400 students from my department are working in North America, and of these 400, 300 students have already completed their PhD and postdocs. They are serving in the most sophisticated research institutes like NIH, in Harvard, in MIT, in everywhere you will find biochemists, those who graduated from my department, as well as in some cases from Jahangirnagar, Rajshahi University, there are also some students. But in case of peripheral universities, you will hardly find students who are directly going over there or their transcripts are being accepted. Well, there are several reasons there. One is what should I say?
You have lack of budget of research and development.
Lack of budget of research, and secondly, their English standards. Thirdly, their communication skills with their foreign advisors, etc. And I should say that in case of science and technology universities, the standards of students that are producing from the peripheral university are most of the cases substandard.
Sir, we will definitely come back and discuss this, because this is a very important issue for right this moment, because we have seen the derailed educational policy since last 53 years. Now new generation has come, new government has come, a person like Muhammad Yunus, who is worldwide respected for his innovation, for his service to the world and planet. We definitely believe that he and his government administration will give more focus on education system. I want to go to our international affairs commentator. I know very well he is also very keenly observing the national budget of Bangladesh fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Sir, as information has come to me 39 minutes ago that according to the primary draft plan, revenue budget size will be 5,74,000 crore. Advisory Council approves Dhaka 7,90,000 crore budget, which is less than 7,000 crore budget of the last year, I mean the previous regime. I have a question for you that the development work is almost stopped. The new project is almost stopped. Why the same size of budget should come for this year? Because it is an interim government.
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Actually, this is a matter, if we look at the history of the issue here, we know that in the past previous regime, we've seen the budget, the national budget increasing in some cases double-fold, which wasn't necessary. But at that time, the country was going through much of development projects, bridges, nuclear power plants, tunnels. Not only so, the reduction only came about 9 months into the interim government's hold on the matter. They should have done this in their first month of their operation, in which they cut the budget in order to have less strain on the households. Not only so, this time we see a 7,000 crore reduction. It's only, to me, it will only sound like to go back to the, in order for them to reduce it, they chose to reduce it to the nearest lowest figure, which would be 790,000 crore as the budget. Now, the ambitious growth target has been kept of above 5.5% for fiscal year 26, which is slightly higher than the revised 5.25% in the current year. But look at the international financial institutions. We have the World Bank, the IMF, the Asian Development Bank. They all predict for the growth to be below 5%. This is most definitely, we have been reeling from various protests throughout the country. More protests than the days that have passed in the interim government. So it does have an effect on the economy and the households of the country. My only input here that would be to check whether this growth can be increased in the future. Whether do we need such a high budget?
Sir, it is not for the debate. It is just to know that World Bank, IMF, IDV, ADV, JICA, USAID or DFID all said that the next year growth will be 3.3 some percentage. So do you feel that a huge chances of inflation we have to face in coming years?
Every household, every person in Bangladesh, they run on commodities. Definitely, if there's an inflation model that is working, all the commodities price will increase. Now, what this does, it creates more tension between the households and the corporations. Not just that, you look at the budgets of other countries, military spending has gone up. UK has chose to include it in their budget. Not just that, in Japan, a pacifist nation who has been more or less peaceful ever since World War II, has finally chosen to increase their military spending in their national budget as they see tensions between China and Taiwan. Most definitely, instead of looking at the commodities, we should have some kind of rapid militarization coming from the budget as well. We do realize that our borders are at question some of the times. So that's why we should look at the budget as well.
You really attentively listening our international affairs commentator who has given a good picture of inflation that might be possible in coming years. As an academician, as a teacher, as a citizen of this country, and you yourself and your family as a consumer of this country, what do you think this inflation will be affordable for us?
Actually, whatever be the percentage of inflation, it is not actually for a vulnerable economy, it is not possible to bear this, particularly a country like Bangladesh and the citizens of Bangladesh. Up to 7% inflation one can tolerate hardly, but whenever it is in the last year, as I was saying, it was 10% in general. It was actually beyond the capacity of the general people to bear this inflation. In all commodities, it was 10%. So you need to open up new avenues for earning. You need to generate earning, the ways of earning, so that people can live in a comfortable way. And this country, you know, it is a very prone to natural calamities. Unemployment is a very big problem here, and failure of the industries, particularly garment industries and others like this, pharmaceutical industries, are rapidly falling, and their economy, it is reflecting in our economy as well. And if you fail to contain this inflation, and if it goes beyond 7%, I think the situation will never improve. And if you cannot generate employment, if you cannot export people from this country to neighboring countries particularly, there are some rays of hope as well. And you know that recently we heard that Japan will take about 1 lakh Bangladeshi from here if they know the elementary Japanese language. So we should discover places like this where we can export our manpower. Manpower, if you if you keep it in our country, and they will create a lot of chaos until and unless they are not being employed.
So you are telling to focus on the exporting manpower.
Yeah.
I want to go to our international affairs commentator. He is a young leader, young generation representative. Sir, my question would be very straight, and that is, Professor Shekhar is talking about the exporting our manpower. But I heard a speech from the chief advisor. He was speaking at Tokyo. He said that our manpower is our wealth. So if we focus on the manpower exporting, who will deal the FDI supported, who will deal and who will improve the internal support business, I mean internal business. My question is, we have many challenges right this moment regarding the commodity prices, inflation, then dollar price, international trading. Our RMG business is shrinking. In this situation, I see in media people are talking about election. As a young generation entrepreneur, you are representing a very big group, including this television. My question is, what do you think? Should we focus on election, democracy, people's right? Or should we address the focused area we should address right this moment?
What an important question, Mr. Kanchan. First, we need to look at where our priorities lie. If the economy was of question, most definitely if you focused on the economy, Maybe about 1 year you try to do whatever you need to do in the economy, maybe so that Bangladesh can be benefited up until 2030. That would be my take on the matter. But Bangladesh has been now reeling with the question whether we should follow elections and whether should there be permanent representative in the parliament. First of all, the constitution says that when a government is overthrown, there is a 90-day period. We've crossed the 90-day mark, and the constitution does also apply. You can also have another 90-day period, a 180-day period, both of which has been passed already in the last 9 months.
Right.
So it's safe to say that no one is following the constitution. That is the framework of the national people of Bangladesh. It's been following for 54 years, as long as the inception of Bangladesh. So at this moment, the call for election, and definitely it does look bad that you have a parliament building sitting there to be for elected representatives to represent Bangladesh on a global stage. However, there is no such people there. It's deserted. We don't know when the next parliamentary seating would be. Of course, we are waiting for an election. But the economy does not care about anyone's politics. Which country is in power, the economy doesn't care. As Bangladesh is connected to the other 200 nations on the planet, we should look at our priorities. Where are our strengths? We are powerful in tea, we are powerful in jute. There is multiple places in the Bay of Bengal. We still haven't looked for natural resources. As you know, countries like America and China are fighting over rare earth minerals, which I'm sure Bangladesh has avid of, but we are not going through the procurement or going through the research of such kind of discovery. Most definitely, you did mention that our greatest export is our manpower. And as you know, the countries such as Dubai, which was a barren desert even 20 years ago, is now a bustling megacity of the planet. Also Qatar, also Singapore. So our manpower exports have been there developing major global powers. However, there hasn't been a shift that manpower should be used for our own purposes. We should try to decentralize Dhaka once more. The talk has been there for the last 9 months. This is due to the overwhelming response of the residents inside Dhaka and their daily woes that we commonly face. Traffic is one of them, pollution is another. So my comment on the matter should be that it does not matter who is in power, more or less, that they should all come to address the economic problems that the households face.
Sir, as you said, traffic is one of the major problems in the city area. If I give you some hints from the budget which is not yet publicly disclosed, but as a journalist we have received some of the information that black money may still find its way into real estate. Do you, number one question for you, do you really think that still black money should be encouraged in such a way? And number two is import duty on rickshaw batteries likely to rise. Why likely to rise? Why not to stop? I want your comment on that, then I will come to Professor Shekhar also for this.
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Actually, you've seen the rise of battery-powered rickshaws in the city. Before, in my knowledge, before August 5th, these were restricted to outside Dhaka states such as Rangpur, Bogura. However, a rise to call, we've known that they are prone to accidents. Most of the civil society has denoted them as death traps. So having a tariff on batteries to rise would definitely control this population in the city. It would also aid in traffic management. Not only so, you mentioned about the black money regarding real estate. You have to take in notion that the system will take some time before it can cure itself. The ousted government has been running the country for 15 years. Much of the corruption that happened then still could be around in Bangladesh, and it's a matter of time before it clears out. Not only in a recent news, we've seen the Bangladesh Bank rolling out new banknotes. What this will do, obviously have an effect on is the issue of black money or white money that we call it in our country. Of course, no country, even in abroad, they don't have such a system. What they would do is every reciprocal year, they would have a new note issuance that all the consumers and the bigger households would have to follow by.
Sir, we will have more discussions on that. It's time to go for break, but before break I want to get your compliment or supplement to our international affairs commentator, what he said the black money may still find its way into real estate, and the rise of taxes, import taxes on batteries, rickshaw batteries, which is creating a lot of problems in the city, in the traffic jam. What is your comment as a citizen of this country?
Actually, whenever there is black money in the market, it will make its ways in so many sectors, not only in a particular sectors, but in many sectors. And you know that bad money will drive good money out of circulation automatically, and the poor people will become poorer with time. And regarding your question, the battery, charged battery, we do not know when and how it was allowed in the city, and who passed this rule, or who allowed this motorized three-wheelers to play on the allowed this to play in the city. It is creating a nuisance, first of all. Secondly, it is consuming huge electricity. Thirdly, it will encourage unemployment. Fourthly, it is causing a huge numbers of accidents in the city. So it should be vehemently discouraged, and these rickshaw pullers should be allowed to do something else, and rickshaw pulling should be vehemently discouraged, because in the metropolitan area.
You said discouraged. Then, sir, my return question is, what would be their profession? How they will feed themselves?
Well, the thing is that you can use these people to generate electricity. For example, you know, you are aware about the electricity generated by air. There you need the energy. If you can employ these people for paddling, the same thing, and if you can think in a way that their paddling will generate electricity in a way, and it is possible, so that they are doing the same thing, like the in the sea areas, perhaps you have observed there are some air generated devices.
So we have so many options.
So that you can think about them.
Gentlemen, I'll come back to you for a healthy debate. It is a time to go for a break. Before the break, I just want to talk with my viewers that once US President Harry Truman has been asked by one journalist from Wall Street Journal, sir, what is the main job of a president of United States of America? He says very politely, if the country is going in a right track, president job is to keep it in right. If country or people is going into wrong track, president jobs is to bring back into right track. We will be discussing where we are going, in the right track or wrong track. We will be back soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching SATV's International Affairs Special Edition. Today we have very distinguished guest, Professor Hussein Uddin Shekhar. He is the Vice Chancellor of Gopalganj Science and Technology University, a veteran academician, teacher, professor, researcher, and we have our regular international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, as we are discussing the national budget and its role to its citizen. I want to raise one debate today. You know, in our constitution we have 5 things in food, clothes, shelter, education, healthcare is the responsibility of the state. It is our constitution says. But have you ever heard, have you ever received any support from this constitutional fundamental rights? New generation are talking, we don't need these 5 issues, give us one thing, our employment, we will organize the 5 things. Sir, first I want to get your comment on that.
Yes, they have said it very pertinently, I suppose, because if these are written just in a book and if you do not follow it, then it is a useless statement. Rather, you should take one thing and you should materialize that thing strictly, and you should strictly adhere to that thing. I think that should be the real, if you can give it a real emphasis, I think we can achieve that goal. If it is not achievable, just writing in the book and you are saying the same thing every day, but you are not doing anything, it is a useless statement. And the present generation, what they are saying, they are very practical, very rational, and I think what they are saying is correctly saying.
Sir, I want to get your opinion also, because you are a millennial generation, you are watching and you are observing the activities of the Gen Zs, what they have done last year, what they are doing right now. They need guidance, they need mentors and advisors. My question is, they are saying we don't need food, clothes, shelter, education, healthcare, this is written in the constitution, but actually people are not receiving anything except some subsidies, and subsidies goes to the political parties or political leaders or distributors. They said, please state, give us only one thing, employment, we will work hard and we will organize our 5 things. You omit these 5 things from the constitution and make the mandatory employment number 1 state's responsibility. I want your comment on that, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. You were mentioning the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the 5 things that every human needs. Of course, in my generation, we are millennials, 90s children. The Gen Z that we have today, they are quite technologically developed. I say this because they are more dependent on how technology has developed. When we are supposed to look at any kind of research topic, we choose to go to the library, we choose to read a book, we choose to look at scholarly articles, whereas they would more be dependent on how ChatGPT or AI would solve their issues. Now, as you said, employment. The initial call for protest was regarding governmental jobs.
Yes, sir.
Right? The quota, the multiple call for having merit.
Quota movement.
Whether it was a quota or whether it was a merit.
Right.
That was the entire debate that initially was we were hearing. Then it became how the government's oppression over the years had added on to this issue. Of course, much of the families should get benefited in some context or another, as they are affected. Multiple casualties were reported. Anyhow, Bangladesh does have a bank of very talented individuals, I would say, especially graduates from Dhaka University, graduates from also universities outside of Dhaka as well. We should also focus on science and technology. The world is developing every day, every hour. Scientists are coming up with breakthroughs in technology that was seen not attainable in recent future. In recent news, I've seen how a country in the West, we've seen how they created gold from pressurizing lead. So technology is developing. What my message to the Gen Z would be is that to keep patience, to work with other generations, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, to deal with everyone. One must be able to communicate without creating hostile environment. In a recent, we've seen a member of the armed forces trying to talk to the younger generation in order to stop creating mob violence, which, as you know, did add on to the law and order situation in the last 9 months. So definitely they should change their ways of approach.
I truly appreciate the word you have used, keep patience. Patience is very important, sir. As you are a teacher, you teach students, you also talk with the civil societies. Our international affairs commentator said one word, keep patience. Should you really keep patience? Because this is the time to rebuild the nation in a new way as new Bangladesh.
Yes, it's a very much an important prerequisite. Keep patience. If you would like to build something, you have to have patience. But you need to know the psychological background of this situation as well. Keeping patience up to a limit is a very important and very difficult thing. In our country, why these people are so impatient? You should rather ask these questions. Why? Social injustice, and in the name of laws and orders, we used to protect the people those are very much involved in corruptions. And seeing all these things for decades, this new generation become impatient. And that is the most important thing that we should consider. If you give them scopes to become impatient, they will do so, because there is no justice here in our country. And that's why mob justice, now a new term I heard at this age, mob justice is being conducted. And they do the justice instantly. I do not know whether it is justice or injustice, I don't know, but they want to see the result immediately. You can go to the court and ask any lawmaker how many cases are remaining pending over there for years. There are millions of cases pending, they are not getting justice, and that's why people are becoming impatient. And you need to know, you need to dissect, you need to understand the psychological background of this impatient situation.
Do you call it a leadership failure or bureaucratic conspiracy?
It is actually a mixed situation here, bureaucratic failure and leadership crisis, all these things intermingled together and resulted into this.
Sir, as per this is an international affairs show, and I know our international affairs commentator has a keen watching on Middle East issues, especially Israel, Palestine, Israel, Gaza, Israel, Iran. This time, sir, what is your updates on Israel-Gaza issue and new focus on Israel-Iran conflict?
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Sudden change of topic, but I will definitely like to add, even yesterday we have seen airstrikes, bombardment of a residential building in Gaza. Much of the distribution centers, people who go there for receiving the distribution, as you know, there's been a food blockade. They are
huge casualties.
With huge casualties. Of course, people on the Gaza Strip, when they arrive to take the required aids, as you call
just
it.
To survive.
Just to survive. They are also being met with gunfire by the Israeli Defense Force. Of course, I also added on earlier in the show that many of the ministers in Saudi Arabia, including Prince Faisal, he's the foreign minister for Saudi Arabia, him including a lot of other countries tried to reach Ramallah to meet the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
Yes, sir.
So this was, of course, to support the Palestinian diplomacy in order to give them statehood. This is June. Next in June, or across the middle of June, there will be a conference in New York, which is held, supported by Saudi Arabia and France, regarding the statehood of Palestinians. At this moment, we can see that the original settlers have or are trying to make sure that the Palestinians become the next settler. So they are pushing them towards Egypt.
So just one question, wherever something happens, Israel condemn or congratulate? A very catastrophical incident like happened in Palestine, that 31 civilian Palestinian killed and 170 injured when they were just lining themselves to receive the aids. White House or US State Department did not even condemn. They said Israel has the right to protect itself. Do you find it's contradictory?
It is highly contradictory. I would say the Western world has reacted to Benjamin Netanyahu's decision making in the Israel government. Even former prime ministers are also calling this move without any direction. It does not have any kind of political gain from this matter. Not just that, you see Australia, you see France, you see UK, you see Canada as well. Even UAE, even the Middle East are now joining into this matter, the worldwide condemnation of Israel. Of course, this would have been better if this was way back in December, right after October 7th. Of course, as you know, there was a gruesome attack in Israel land during October 7th, which then prompted them to initiate an all-out offensive with the Gazan people, with the Palestinian people. And really a lot of religion is at play here. A lot of ethnic backgrounds are also at play here. Of course, it does carry a huge psychological toll to global politics, world leaders and us who are coming here to discuss on this matter. It is an issue that even we as a news broadcaster cannot avoid as
Right,
we
sir.
daily give the
Right,
updates.
sir. Definitely, we have touched Israel, Gaza. When I will come to you next round, I will be definitely looking forward your opinions on China, Taiwan, and United States already engaged themselves into that conflict. I will also touch some developments, expect some developments from you regarding the India-Pakistan recent tensions and diplomatic moves. India has given a diplomatic move to describe their narrative to the West. Now, let me come to Professor Shekhar, a very distinguished academician. Sir, we were talking regarding the budget and young generation's thoughts. Do you think time has come to listen the young generation? Do you think time has come to criticize the senior generation? Do you think time to come to revise, reorganize, restart, refresh and remove?
Thank you for your question. Actually, this is a new era beginning from August, particularly in case of Bangladesh. So, the things that have been being practiced in other countries long ago, that has started here just a few months back. So, we need to accommodate the change that has occurred in the last few months. So, you say the young people are leading in some sectors, and they are coming up with very new ideas, and they are making a significant progress in their areas as well, in garments industries as well as in pharmaceuticals as well as in other sectors. The young people are leading and the old thoughts are being cornered. So, we need to make a bridge between the two generations, the experience, the youth, their energy and the experience, and we need to accommodate all stakeholders, and you just cannot ignore anyone. So, each and everyone is very much needed. We need to find out a policy, an integrated policy that will help us to achieve our goal.
That's really a good advice you have done. We are at the last part of the show. As part time is we are running out of time. I will have the last question to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panto. We just want to hear the recent updates, the latest updates about the China, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and America engaged itself with this conflict. So, the weather in that part is warming day by day, number one, and number two is Pakistan India diplomatic moves. If you have any updates, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Thank you as well, Professor Shekhar, for being here today as I start my last answer. First of all, China historically claims that Taiwan is a part or an island part of the Chinese mainland. Of course, history does say that China did have a hold over this nation. However, the independent nation of Taiwan has claimed independence, and there has been two different countries as of yet. Also, there are similarities. Now, if you look at the US, they have categorically, we have seen how the US can lead a proxy war. Now, China is in heightened tensions with Taiwan, as China will try to now surround Taiwan and take the island by force, whereas the Taiwanese side is running its entire military based on the backing of the US and the allies. It is a foreground to war, I would say. Over the weekend in the Shangri-La dialogue, we've seen that the Chinese delegation wasn't there, only a Chinese pair of academics were there, where Pete Hegseth did say that the China is trying to create a World War-like situation in Asia. They did share retaliatory comments. Of course, even in America's homeland, we see them trying to deport or use any kind of means necessary to make sure that the Chinese students, Chinese academics are no longer there in America. So, This is a run-up to a much more sophisticated war. Of course, there are trade differences between China and the US. We would try to see how this unfolds. And in other news between India and Pakistan, Pakistan did sign a water treaty yesterday with several other players in the international community. Of course, they are in the face of the Indus either being blocked or flooded by the Indian side. It's still a very competitive matter to the both sides. We'll see how this goes in the upcoming days.
Sir, thank you very much, but I want to do a supplement question to you. You know, China did not have much war history. In last 200 years, China did not engage themselves into any direct invasion or war. But United States or West or NATO is provoking China regarding Taiwan and Hong Kong. Do you think if China engaged itself into a direct war, the entire planet's economy and trade chain will be broken and the entire planet will be sufferer?
Of course, you've seen China being the major manufacturing hub up until the late 2020s, up until coronavirus time. However, now because of these tariffs, major manufacturers are moving out of China. This is taking a major toll on the Chinese economy. So China is attacked economically, so it's only a matter of time before China chooses to assert its dominance into the sea as well, into the land. We know that China did have some major military developments in the Spratly Islands, a part of the South China Sea. So it's a matter to check how far this escalation will go. Definitely it is an escalation. The world is now more hostile than more of a peaceful nature. We should definitely see some kind of escalation in the coming days. I hope not. I hope that the entire world chooses peace and dialogue over retaliatory measures.
I really appreciate both of you gentlemen, very knowledgeable, very updated. I'm so humbled to say that thank you very much, Professor Hussain Uddin Shekhar, Vice Chancellor, Gopalganj Science and Technology University and long time served in Dhaka University, which is called the Oxford of South Asia. And I also especially my gratitude to our international affairs commentator. He has done really extremely well because he keeps all these things updated. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time to say goodbye. I will see you tomorrow.